really, it's shocking, right? This is the first time, I think, in history of the Supreme Court that there's been this kind of unprecedented leak, that a majority opinion would be leaked out in this way. It seems very political to do this. And I do wonder, are there any institutions left that can and should be protected in this country? The institution of the Supreme Court has been around for hundreds of years. And those opinions really should not be leaked in this way. And so rather than be a celebration for protecting life, now this entire week has been marred by this unfortunate leak.
But the decision itself, too, talk to me about your feelings about that and what apparently is the decision by the court.
Yes. And so, I'm pro-life, and I also, as a conservative, support federalism and the rights of states. The government that governs closest to the people, state and local, is the government that governs best, and protecting those rights. And I worked on pro-life legislation as a state lawmaker, had a hand in developing and modeling that legislation that Governor McMaster signed into law, I believe, last year. And have been working on these issues for a number of years, both at the state and federal level.
Well, I mean, I think there are women's groups out there who obviously are disappointed or upset by this as well. Mm-hmm. As a woman yourself, as well as a legislature, I mean, what would you have to tell these people who believe this is really taking away some of their own rights?
Right. Well, my belief that there should be exceptions for women who are raped or victims of incest, also for instances where the life of the mother is threatened. There are exceptions, at least in South Carolina's law, to that. But at what point we must ask ourselves, does that child, at what point does that child have life? What point is that child given life? And in some cases, some of these children that are aborted in different states around the country, they can still, the technology that's there today wasn't there when Roe v. Wade, when that was originally decided. And the technology has advanced so much today, even, around 20 to 22 weeks, sometimes those infants can survive outside the room with the technology that we have today. And so at one point, I do think we have to ask ourselves, right? And there are some on the left that want to have abortion up until the day of birth. There are those that want to have taxpayer funded abortion. And those are things that the vast majority of Americans, no matter where you live, are wholeheartedly against. So we need to protect the lives of the unborn through these sorts of measures, and leaving it up to the states is something that I agree with.
Yeah, I mean, what is the sense that you're getting from your fellow legislators out there? I'm seeing potentially 23 or more states that already have things in place, either triggers in place or are ready to go ahead and ban abortions as soon as this decision becomes final.
Right. And there are some states that, like South Carolina, they've had a law signed onto the books already by Governor McMaster. There are other states in the process, like Texas and others. You're seeing that across the country. And that's why it's really important that this is why elections do matter. Having folks that will protect lives of infants and babies and children and their future is a really important issue across the country. And the vast majority of Americans don't want to see some of the really, really far left progressive policies that are coming out of DC. And this prevents that from happening.
The other side of that would be there are a lot of people who feel this is a slippery slope that we could see then next would be same-sex marriage and some of the other freedoms that we enjoy that could be taken away at some point with decisions like this and with what the court is doing right now.
Well, I think that's a little bit of fear-mongering there. This is different. I mean, when Roe v. Wade was originally decided, the technology about birth, about infants in the womb and their development and their growth, we didn't have nearly as much technology as we have today. And in fact, I really believe that if a woman's going to have an abortion, that she should receive counseling, that she should hear the heartbeat, she should see the ultrasound and see her baby before those decisions are made, and that she should make that in consultation with her physician. And, I've advocated for, pro-life protections, protecting those infants. I have 100% pro-life voting record. But in the cases of rape and incest and life of the mother, showing compassion. There was a story in Ohio after they passed their fetal heartbeat bill of a young girl who was age 10, who was pregnant, didn't know she was pregnant because she was raped by her father repeatedly. And so we just got to make sure that we have some consideration for those things, going forward as well. Yeah,
I think that's a very good point. I think it's important to remember that is no matter how you feel that side of things and those allowances have to be made someplace. So thinking
that's right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know your opponent does not necessarily think that, but, that's where you guys differ in this case as well. So.
Right. And I have the same position as Senator Tim Scott or Donald Trump or Ronald Reagan or the Republican Party platform. Our party has those exceptions because those are decisions that if you are a victim of rape or incest or your life is put in danger, you have the right to make those decisions in consultation with your doctor. And so that otherwise would be a radical idea. It would take the rights of victims, women whose lives would be put in danger, off the table. And that's not right either. So there's got to be a balance there as well.
Other than the idea, I know you called a little bit fear-mongering before. Do you believe, though, that if a Republican is elected in 2024, that there will be a nationwide ban on abortion?
I don't believe so. I believe, Republicans as a whole, our party platform really is rooted in federalism and states' rights. And you see that across the board in a number of different ways. For example, I have the States Reform Act, which is a federal cannabis legislation that protects the rights of states to have or to prohibit cannabis, whether it's CBD or hemp or medical or adult use, protecting those rights. And we feel that way on a number of different issues, from, I think, pro-life to cannabis to interstate commerce, et cetera. Those are things that we want to make sure we protect the rights of states across the board.